Hey, what is up everyone? Tyler Ramsbey here, back with another stream, and whether you're joining me on Twitch or maybe you're joining me on YouTube after the fact, I just want to say it is an honor to have you hanging out with me tonight. We'll be around for the next, I don't know, 2 hours or so. We'll kind of see how things go. And goal number one is we are going to dive into Log4j. Now, if you've been in IT for any length of time, you know that Log4j was an exploit that kind of blew up recently. One of the biggest problems with Log4j is it was so difficult to figure out what products were affected by it, how to patch it, how to remediate it, waiting for vendors to come out with patches. And so we are going to go through Log4j. I'll do my best to explain it. We'll use TryHackMe to help explain it. And then we will exploit a server, like hands-on, using the Log4j exploit. And then we'll actually go back through it as a defender and then patch it. And then if we knock that out, I think we'll jump into PwnKit, but we'll just have to see how we're doing for time. I'm going to go ahead and just adjust the volume of my music a little bit in my headphones and get Twitch pulled up so I can monitor the chat in case you guys have any questions, or if you're on YouTube, you can't really chat with me, you can leave a comment and let me know if you have any questions. And now finally, let me go ahead and share my screen. Here we are on TryHackMe, and before we dive into the actual room, let's go ahead and open up Kali Linux. What I've done before I started my stream is I connected to the VPN for TryHackMe, just the open VPN connection, but that's all I've done so far. I have my folder here for recent threats. Let's make a directory, and let's just call it Log4j. And I did go through this room once already, and it's a little bit complex. So if you're following along, I'll do my best to kind of take it slow and explain what's going on. Because the room itself can get a little bit confusing just because there's so many different moving pieces, and there are things I've already installed, but I'll see if I can reinstall them just to show you the process of what you need to do to actually exploit this. So that being said, let's pull up TryHackMe one more time. I'm going to show you how to navigate to this. So if you go to learn up here, and if we scroll down, we're looking for recent threats right here. And actually, I'm gonna stop sharing my screen because I'm gonna jump to my face cam. I told you I already went through this once, and so right now all the answers and stuff are there. So I'm gonna clear the room completely just so you don't see the answers until we go through it. And it is cleared. I will go back to sharing my screen. All right, let's exploit Log4j. Step one is go ahead and start the machine because it takes a little bit for those machines to boot up. So we'll let that start up, and as it's starting up, let's read through this and see what we can learn. So on December 9th, 2021, so right in time for Christmas, the world was made aware of a new vulnerability identified as CVE 2021-4422-8, affecting the Java logging package Log4j. This vulnerability earned a severity score of 10.0, which is the most critical designation, and offers remote code trivial, I think it just means offers trivial remote code execution on hosts engaging with software that utilizes this Log4j version. Some call it Log4j. I don't know the correct way to say it, but Log4j makes sense to me. This attack has been dubbed Log4 Shell. Today, Log4j version 2.16.0 is available and patches this vulnerability. JNDI, which is like the Java string, we'll get to that, is fully disabled. Support for message lookups is removed, and the new DOS vulnerability blah blah is not present. However, the sheer danger of this vulnerability is due to how ubiquitous the logging package is. Millions of applications as well as software providers use this package as a dependency in their code. While you may be able to search your own or patch your own database using Log4j, other vendors and manufacturers will still need to push their own security updates downstream. Many security researchers have likened this vulnerability to that of shell shock, which I'm trying to remember if I did this on stream or not. I did a room just recently where I used shell shock, but that may have been offline just for my own learning, but maybe we'll stream that. By the nature of its enormous attack surface, we will see this vulnerability for years to come. Blah, blah, blah. This room will showcase how you can test for, exploit, and mitigate this vulnerability within Log4j. While there are a number of other articles, blog resources, learning material, I, the author of this exercise, am particularly partial to these, and I believe this room is by the great John Hammond, if my memory serves me right. Note from the author, please use the information you learn in this room to better the security landscape. Test systems you own, right? Not random systems online, unless it's TryHackMe or Hack the Box. apply patches and mitigations where appropriate, and help the whole industry recover. This is a very current and real-world threat, whether you are a pen tester, red teamer, incident responder, security analyst, blue team member, or what have you. This exercise is to help you and the world understand and gain awareness on the widespread vulnerability. It should not be used for exploitative gain or self-serving financial incentive. I'm looking at you, bug bounty hunters. And hey, what up, Hunterbot? Good to have you here, good sir. Additionally, please bear in mind that the developers of the Log4j package work on the open source project as a labor of love and passion. They are volunteer developers that maintain their project in their spare time. There should be absolutely no bashing, shame, or malice towards those individuals. As with all things, please further your knowledge so you can be a pedestal and pillar for the information security community. Educate, share, and help. Read the above and deploy the machine. We did that. We recommend using TryHackMe's web-based attack box. We are not going to. We're going to use our VM. We'll struggle through it together. The target virtual machine includes software that utilizes a vulnerable Log4j package, offering you a playground to explore the vulnerability. I'm just going to go ahead and get side by side with my Kali Linux machine. Oops, maybe. And let's give Kali, let's give Kali the most room here. How's that? Okay, after deploying your virtual machine, you should find that the IP address is this. Let's just add that to our etc host file, which my old one might be in there when I was first going through this exercise. It is, so let's just change the IP to 10. Whoops, I'm breaking it. It is a good idea to have numlock on. Let's go do that. I mean, I guess that IP doesn't really matter, so let's just jump up here and let's update this IP. What is it doing? Okay, 10.10.148.165 log4j.thm. Let's save. Let's see if we can ping it. And we can. Perfect. Okay. To begin with, start with basic reconnaissance to understand what ports are open in this machine. Blah, blah, blah. So let's go ahead and nmap it. Got port 111 and port 22. We probably need to scan all ports, it looks like. This application uses ports that may not be immediately noticed by nmap. So the way you do that is if you do nmap -p-, if you just do regular nmap, it only scans the top 1,000 most common ports. Often at CTFs or even a real world situation, people will try to do security through obscurity, which means they'll put it on a port that's not well known. So to discover those, you have to do -p-, and that means scan all the ports. log4j.thm -v for verbose. Technically you could do like -v for version, things like that. I usually try to find the ports that are available and then scan those specific ports just to save time rather than throwing at all of them. So let's do that. I'm assuming it shouldn't take too long, and I'm pretty sure the web server is like 8080 or something. So we'll let this run its scan. Scan the machine, determine what ports are accessible. We're doing that right now. So here's what it is. It's going to eventually find port 8983. I'm just going to save the time instead of waiting. To scan a specific port, if you know what it is, it's just -p space, specify the port 8983, -a for throw all the scripts at it for enumeration. You can see my command history there. Let's do it this way. And it's gonna grab that port, it's gonna scan it, make sure it's open, it's gonna throw a bunch of enumeration scripts at it. We're gonna try to get the version, the HTTP headers, all that good stuff. And I guess while it does that, we know it's some type of web server, so we can just go to it in our browser as well. Open up our trusty Firefox. There's my command history. Let's do that. Solar admin. Is it done? Yep, and we can see it here as well. So if you scroll up, we see Apache 89, or not Apache, port 8983, version Apache Solar, Solar admin, blah, blah, blah. And so it's asking what service is running on 8983, just a name. So we're going to type Apache Solar. Perfect. I don't know what the hint was. Should be in the format Apache name, so we can get that directly from our nmap scan right there. Discovery, we have some task files we need to download, so I'm just going to get those onto here. Oops, probably want to keep that open. Let me go back. Come on, TryHackMe. Okay, let's go ahead and grab those task files. Looks like it's some log files. It's already complete. So let's go ahead and copy those over to our folder. So if we do cp home Kali downloads, here they are to the current directory. There we go. We can unzip them. And let's make a directory called logs, and let's move anything was sold to log. Oh my goodness. Okay. So now we have them all here. We can remove the solarlogs.zip. There we go. All right, we'll see if that comes up in just a little bit. This target machine is running Apache Solar 8.11.0, one example of software that is known to include this vulnerable Log4j package. For the sake of showcasing this vulnerability, see if I can zoom in on this for you guys. The application runs on Java 1.8.0, blah, blah. Explore the web interface accessible, click around. So let's go ahead and explore it. So we have the Solar admin thing, which is clearly something used for logging data. Let's just kind of click through here. So if we click logging, we have not all security plugins configured. Solar is only as secure as you make it. Consider configuring. Okay. So we already know there must be some security issues with it. Let's click security itself. Whoops, what was that? So this is showing the level of logging. You can see it's Log4j2 here. And it's showing, I suppose, on the web server what it is logging specifically. And you'll see later on, this is kind of important because the way you exploit this is you send something to the logs, a specific string, in order to set up an Ldap connection. Let's click around some more stuff. If we go to security, what do we have here? Create a security.json config file and then restart Solar. So you can configure it with a JSON to get security settings. We have our config right here. So if we are able to get on the web server, we could find that config. Might have creds, might have something in it. We have the Java properties here. I don't know much Java, but we can at least see the Java version. So if this is like a public facing thing we had access to, we'd be able to figure out, is this Java version vulnerable to Log4j or other exploits? Turn my music down a little bit, 1 second. Just like to have that in the background, just a tad. Okay. And let's look at thread dump quick. So this is just a dump of Java properties, it looks like. Config files, not config files, but logs of files. Okay. This instance of Apache Solar is provisioned with no data whatsoever. It is a flat, vanilla, and absolutely minimum installation, yet at its core, it is still vulnerable to this CVE. Answer the questions below. Take a close look at the first page visible when navigating to that. That's the dashboard. You should be able to see clear indications that Log4j is in use within the application for logging activity. What is a dsolar.log.dir argument set to displayed on the front page? dsolar.log.dir. I think this is what it's looking at. If I can grab it. Download the attached files accessible on the top right. We did that to see some example log files. Explore each log file if just to get a feel for what is displayed. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's gedit them. So let's gedit the Solar 8983 console log first. So we have this Java hotspot 64-bit server VM warning, failed to reserve share memory. So this is like errors, it looks like. There's reserved memory, it's something on the VM itself. Session ID manager, the install directory of some stuff. Okay. How many do we have? So let's just jump through here. Gedit solar.log. Here we have, it looks like different connections that might be happening. If I scroll through here, let's go ahead and just make this a big screen for now. Okay. So it looks almost like there's some server connection. There's this HTTP solar call here to this path admin cores. That might be something to keep in mind. We have that a bunch, as it would appear. Okay. Gedit solar GC. What is this? Java hotspot 64-bit version. Stuff that I don't understand. Okay, cool. What else do we got here? We got multiple solar logs. Let's see if there's anything different between the few of them. It looks similar. Other connections like that. Let's look at solar slow requests. Did I spell that wrong? Yeah, I did. Nothing. Unless it's supposed to be there and it downloaded wrong. Did I open the right thing? Solar slow request.log. Yeah. Alright. What's the question that they're asking us? Down the attached files, blah, blah, blah. One file has a significant number of info entries showing repeated requests to one specific URL endpoint. I think that was a solar.log file. Let's just double check real quick. Do you remember all those that I said that's a bunch of them? Yeah. Right here. Trying to access this ad/admin/cores. I believe that's what we're looking for. Knocking that out. I'm going to pop open Discord. So I got a message over here. I want to see if it's anything with the stream. Oh, cool. It's Jack spamming for me. Thank you, Jack, if you're watching this. Appreciate the spam help. Viewing these log entries, what field name indicates some data entry point that you as a user could control? Just the field name. Viewing these log entries, what field name indicates some data entry point that you as a user could control? I would guess, if we look at this, it's probably not admin, not web app, but params, right? Because like a parameter can often be defined by the user, whether it's a function or a call. Often the user, the person making the function, is able to define the parameters. I'm guessing it's params. Boom. Proof of concept. All right, now we're gonna do this again, just so we can work our way through this slowly but surely. Let's go ahead and close this out. All right, I'm gonna get a drink. Okay. Proof of concept. Note that the URL endpoint you have just uncovered needs to be prefaced with the solar prefix when viewing it for the web interface. Yep, and we can see that solar. This means that you should visit solar admin/cores, and we got that from those log files. Interesting. You also notice that param seems to be included in the log file. At this point, you may already be beginning to see the attack vector. The Log4j package adds extra logic to logs by parsing entries, ultimately to enrich the data, but may additionally take actions and even evaluate code based off the entry data. This is the gist of this CVE. Other syntax might be in fact executed just as it is entered in the log files. Some examples of this syntax are, we have the sys, OS name, username, config parent location, environmental path, environmental host name, and Java version. You may already know the general payload to abuse this Log4j vulnerability. The format of the usual syntax that takes advantage of this looks like so. JNDI, Java something string, Ldap, and then our attacker controlled host. That's like our malicious Ldap server we set up. The syntax indicates that the Log4j will invoke functionality from JNDI, or the Java naming and directory interface. Ultimately, this can be used to access external resources or references, which is what is weaponized in this attack. Notice the Ldap schema. This indicates that the target will reach out to an endpoint, an attacker-controlled location in the case of this attack, via the Ldap protocol. For the sake of brevity, we will not need to cover all the ins and outs and details of Ldap here, but know that this is something we will need to work with as we refine our attack. For now, know that the target will in fact make a connection to an external location. This is indicated by the attacker-controlled host placeholder in the above syntax. You, us, acting as the attacker in this scenario, can host a simple listener to view this connection. That is the plan. The next question is, where could we enter this syntax? Anywhere that has data logged by the application. This is the crux of this vulnerability. Unfortunately, it is very hard to determine where the attack surface is for different applications, and ergo, what applications are in fact vulnerable. Simply seeing the presence of Log4j files doesn't clue in on the exact version number, or even where or how the application might use the package. Think back to the previous task. You already discovered that you could supply params to the Solar admin core's URL, and now that you have a better understanding of how Log4j works, you should understand that this is where you supply your inject syntax. You can simply supply HTTP get variables or parameters, which will then be processed and parsed by Log4j. All it takes is a single line of text, and that makes this vulnerability extremely easy to exploit. Other locations you might supply this JNDI syntax: input boxes, user and password login forms, data entry points within applications, HTTP headers such as user agent, x forwarded for, or other customizable headers, and any place for user supplied data. If you would like more information on this JNDI attack vector, please review this Black Hat USA presentation from 2016. We're probably not going to watch that right now. Is it just a PDF? We could glance at it. Actually, it's long. You can look at it in your own time if you want. To prepare your environment for testing the vulnerability and receiving a connection, view your own attacking IP address. We have that up here with the following thing. We know our IP. Prepare netcat last or any of your port. So let's do netcat. And we'll do 999 as they specify. And let's just rename this to netcat. Let's open a new one. Change over to root. Okay, done. Now that you have a listener stage, make a request including this primitive JNDI payload syntax as part of the HTTP parameters. This can easily be done with the curl command line utility. Now, although you can copy and paste it, I think typing is good. It helps you slow down and understand what you're doing. So let's just slow down and type it. So curl, and you can see my history there, but we'll retype it, HTTP. This is the IP of the machine, so we could actually do log4j.thm, at least we should be able to. 8983 there, Solar admin cores, and that is what we found looking at the log file with the parameters. And then I believe here we're adding those parameters. So if we do our $, this little thing, whatever it's called, JNDI, Ldap, and then our IP. And 9999 is the port that we're listening on, / that, closing quote. Let's see if that works. Now we should see some data here. We did. Now, of course, it's not formatted. We can't do anything with it, but it does show that we are getting a connection back. Note, due to the use of the $ character in your syntax, you must ensure you wrap the URL with single quotes, so bash, a command line shell, does not interpret as a variable. Additionally, you must escape out these curly braces with the single / character so that those are not misrepresented in the curl command arguments. Got it. Verify you received your connection by seeing the following message in your netcat listener, which we did. Complete. Exploitation. Fun. Scroll up, wall of text. At this point, you have verified, let's just close this for now. We'll start it back up. At this point, you have verified the target is in fact vulnerable by seeing this connection caught in your netcat listener. However, it made an Ldap request, so all your netcat listener may have seen was non-printable characters, strange-looking bytes. We can now build upon this foundation to respond with a real Ldap handler. We will utilize an open source and public utility to stage an Ldap referral server. This will be used to essentially redirect the initial request of the victim to another location where you can host a secondary payload that will ultimately run code on the target. This breaks down like so. So here is our payload here. Here's our attack server, port 1389. It reaches out to our Ldap referral server. The Ldap referral server springboards the request to a secondary resource, so we're downloading something. The victim retrieves and executes the code present in that resource. This means that we will need an HTTP server, which we could simply host with any of the following options, serving on port 8000. We don't have any payloads yet, but I'm sure we will. Okay, so we're going to set this Python server. If you get stuck in any of the following steps, we have video showcasing using the attack box each step to gain remote code execution. Oh, sweet. Well, I'm making another video for you. We'll see if mine's as smooth. Read and understand the attack chain above. Done. First order of business, however, is obtaining the Ldap referral server. We will be using the MarshallSec utility offered here. Ultimately, this needs to run Java. Reviewing the README for this utility, it suggests using Java 8. You may or may not have access using a different version, but to play by the rules, we will match the same version of Java using the target virtual machine. Okay, here's where it's going to get a little bit confusing if you're following along in your own VM. This is kind of a gotcha moment when I was working through this offline to understand this better. And so I want to walk through kind of how to do this. Is it really not going to wrap the text? Yeah, it's really not going to wrap the text. I've already done this, so it should already be installed on mine. We will have to reinstall this utility, but I do want to walk you through this. So if you're not running 1.8 blah blah within the attack box, which we're not doing attack box, if you're using your own attack machine, you may need to download, and you probably will because you probably have the latest version of Java, likely. You can find a myriad of different Java versions to run. Now, I don't believe this link works. Yep, so let me show you guys how to do this. What I did is we know we need this file right here, okay? So if we just take that and search for it on Google. You can't use this Oracle one because they want you to create an account and do all that stupid stuff, but this one will work for you. And you'll want to do this on your attack machine, not your local machine, of course. And it's right there. So this is at this repo.something cloud. You can download it from here, and that's the first kind of gotcha moment. You can't actually use this link. This link is dead. So you're gonna have to go to this one and download it from there. So you download this to your attack box. Download this into your appropriate machine and run the following commands, blah, blah, blah. So the first thing you wanna do, because it will fail if you try to do this from your download folder, I learned. First thing is you need to make this directory, and I believe I made it on mine. Let's just verify. Yep, I did. So this is important. You can't just do this in your download folder. You need to make this directory here. You're gonna CD over to this, and you are going to, so when you're here, go ahead and just copy. I don't think it has this step here, but you CD over here, and then you're gonna CP, like copy, like this. CP home Kali downloads, jeez, and that Java file, I obviously don't have it here, but that JDK file, and you're gonna put it to user lib JVM. Okay, you have to copy it over to that folder. Once you get there, then you can follow along with these steps to tar, do this, but instead of downloads, it's gonna be in this folder here, and then I would encourage you literally copy and paste each one of these commands one by one. Copy and paste that, copy and paste that, copy and paste that. This, this, this. Now, as long as you do it in this folder that you made, and then you unzip it there and do it all from that specific folder, it will work. If you do it any other way, I've learned it doesn't work. So follow those steps exactly to get this Java installed. To make sure you're running the right Java, you can just do the Java-version, and I suppose I should make sure it's still working for me. And that's what you want to see, I believe, is 1.8.0.181. Yep, 1.8.0.181. Now, as the instructions say, it might work with other versions of Java. I didn't even try my version of Java. From the beginning, I wanted to make sure I follow this as closely as possible. So I went through all those different steps. So those are the few gotchas. Just make sure when you do it yourself, make the new folder, copy the JDK file over there, tar, unzip it there, and then copy and paste all 6 of those commands one by one, just to make sure everything works for you. So we did that. I already did that. We'll need to retrieve the Marshall Sec utility. Don't remember if that's still on here or not. Let's find out. Do I still have it? Nope. So I will walk you through that install process. Here's this. Let's just go ahead and copy this, and we'll open this up. And I believe this has a good README that guides you through installing this. But it's the Java on Marshall or security, turning your data into code execution. Blah, blah, blah. Java 8 required, which we have. And it says how to download these things. Let's just go ahead and, if you came here, maybe it walks through on here how to install it. I remember seeing good instructions. Oh yeah, here it is. So we can download the files with Git. We can literally just follow these steps here. You should already have Git. I think it's pre-installed on Kali, so if you're using Kali, you should be good. Let's git clone that. Okay. And then we're gonna have to compile it, download and change directories. We did that. We must build Marshall Sec with the Java builder Maven. If you do not yet have Maven on your system, you can install it with your package manager, and that really is just apt install Maven. And then next, run the command to build the Marshall Sec utility. I think we can just copy and paste that. There we go. We'll give it a minute while it does that thing. Let's go ahead and read ahead. Please note the attack box for free users doesn't have internet and won't install the Maven packages. Either subscribe or install the Marshall Sec tool locally. You should always be using your own VM for learning. Don't use the attack box. With the Marshall Sec utility built, we can start an Ldap referral server to direct connections to our secondary HTTP server, which we will prepare in just a moment. You are more than welcome to dig into the usage, parameters, and other settings that can be configured with this tool, but for the sake of demonstration, the syntax to start the Ldap server is as follows. Okay. Is this done? Perfect. And I just told you I don't try to copy and paste, but I believe the text wrap is broken. Yeah, so we are going to copy and paste because the text wrap is broken down. I feel like going back and forth over and over again. So here's the command. Let's go ahead and grab this. Note that we will supply the HTTP port listening on 8000. Okay. All right. All right. All right. Let's call this Ldap because I think that's kind of what we're doing. Paste our selection here, and we're doing this Java-CP. There's that Marshall Sec, the JNDI that we read about, the Ldap referral server, so we can kind of read through that syntax so we understand a little bit about what's going on. And our IP port 8000 is going to be an HTTP port, and it looks like we're going to compile an exploit and call it exploit, because what it's going to do is we're going to host a Python web server on port 8000. This is going to reach out to our Python web server, download and execute the exploit. So once we run this, I bet the next thing is we're going to compile the actual exploit, and we're going to run the HTTP server so everything connects. Okay, port 1389, good, good. What is the output of running this command? You should leave this terminal window open. I think this is all they're looking for. Now that our Ldap server is ready and waiting, we can open a second terminal window to prepare our final payload and secondary HTTP server. Ultimately, the Log4j vulnerability will execute arbitrary code that you craft within the Java programming language. If you aren't familiar with Java, which I'm really not, don't fret. We will use simple syntax and simply shells out to running a system command. In fact, we will retrieve a reverse shell connection so we can gain control over the target machine. Create and move into a new directory where you might host this payload. We'll just do it from our Log4j folder. First, create your payload in a text editor of your choice with the specific name exploit.java. Okay, let's grab this. Open a new tab. Okay, and let's just gedit. I think it was like that, wasn't it? Oh, lowercase, capital E. I don't know if that matters. Let's follow it. So, we're doing a little function, it looks like here. We have a try and catch. And what is it doing? Oh, so it's doing a very basic netcat shell. So, I don't know Java, but I can at least understand that. Port 9999, which is what our netcat listener should be listening at. And it looks good to me. Okay. Modify your attacker IP. We did that for this payload. Netcat. This target has been configured with netcat for ease of exploitation, though you're more than welcome to experiment with other payloads. Compile your payload with this and verify it succeeded. Remove that from command if not using the attack box. Okay. Can it wrap text now? Yeah. Okay. Let's just scroll down to where we're at. So we're gonna do javac like that. Exploit.java. We don't need to do source 8 or target 8 because we're not doing this in command box or attack box. And we have our exploit.class. Perfect. Run the above in the same folder as where you saved the exploit.java. We did that. With your payload created and compiled, you can now host it by spinning up a temporary HTTP server. So let's do that. Python3.m http.server 8000. Right? Because that's what we specified. So we specified in the exploit, I believe, was 8000 for the Ldap one. Yep, right there. So it should be 8000. If you just do 80, this is going to fail because it's going to be looking for port 8000. Okay. Your payload is created and compiled. It is hosted with an HTTP server and one terminal. Let's just name this. So we have the HTTP server and one terminal. Perfect. Our Ldap referral server right here, which should be reaching out to our web server. When we run it, we should see a GET request here to our web server and port 8000 and grab the exploit from Ldap to that. And then the exploit should run on the server. And then we should see a netcat connection, right? So Ldap, web server, shell, hopefully. Next, prepare a netcat listener. We already did that. Finally, all that is left to do is trigger the exploit. So let's open one more terminal window. Okay. Finally, all that's left to do is trigger the exploit, fire off, blah, blah. Note the changes in port number, now referring to our Ldap server, which is 1389, and the resource we retrieve specifying our exploit. Okay, let's give it a shot. Curl, HTTP. We should be able to do log4j.thm, 8983, solar, admin, cores, foo, that, $, that. Whoops, JNDI, Ldap. Make sure I'm not doing this too fast. I'm looking at my syntax, make sure I have it right. And then / my attack IP. 1389, which is going to be our malicious Ldap. Exploit / that way, that thing, closing, comma. How's that look? We should get shell. Okay, now if we click web server, perfect. We have this GET request, Ldap. Okay, shell. I think it's working. Let's see. Look at that. We have a reverse shell on the system, my friends. We caught the reverse shell. You now have received initial access and command and control on a vanilla, freshly installed Apache Solr instance. This is just one example of many, many vulnerable applications affected by this Log4j vulnerability. At this point, a threat actor can realistically do whatever they would like with the victim, whether it be privilege escalation, exfiltration, install persistence, perform lateral movement, or any other post-exploitation, potentially dropping cryptocurrency miners, remote access trojans, beacons, and implants, or even deploying ransomware. All it took was a single string of text. That. And a little bit set up with freely available tooling. This is precisely why the internet has been on fire during the weekend of December 9th, 2021. Please hug any incident responders that you know. So troubleshooting, it worked for us. So he's just saying, here are some things you should miss. And basically what I would check, to summarize what I think he's saying, is first, look at this, right? Does your syntax on here match up correctly? You have all the curly brackets in the right spot, the commas in the right spot. Second would be go to your Ldap server. Do you see a connection here? It should be this Ldap reference result for exploit. If you see this connection here, we know that our command in our terminal went well. We know our Ldap server went well. Third, look at your web server. Do you see a GET request? If you don't, it could be that you have it on the wrong port. But if you see this GET request, I guess you could double check the GET request to make sure, or double check your exploit to make sure you specified the correct port. It should be 9999 if you're following the instructions. And finally, make sure your netcat is listening on the port that you specified in the exploit. So you have those 3 different steps. Those are the ways you should check. If for some reason it didn't work for you, or if you're watching this on YouTube or Discord even, just shoot me a message and I'd be happy to help you troubleshoot if you're having issues. After receiving a reverse shell, feel free to experiment with other commands you could run with your exploit.java payload. Can you get an interpreter shell loaded? How about an Empire agent, a Cobalt strike beacon? For the sake of time, we are not going to do that, but I would assume all you would do is when you create the exploit, you would just take the shell, the MSF Venom stuff, and you'd put it in there. And should be pretty easy, I'd assume, to do those things. Now that we have this, and let's just go ahead and upgrade our shell. Let me open up my OneNote. Let's just upgrade it with Python real quick to make it a little bit cleaner. I'll show you guys what I'm looking for in my OneNote. Upgrade shell, reverse shell tools. Here we go. There we go, a little bit cleaner. Still not a fully stable shell, but oh well. Should be good enough. Persistence. Now that you've gained a reverse shell connection on the victim machine, you can continue to take any action you might like. To better understand this Log4j vulnerability, let's grant ourselves better access so we can explore the machine, analyze the affected logs, and even mitigate the vulnerability. You may have noticed from your earlier Nmap scan that SSH was open on the host. We did not know any usernames or passwords at the point, so trying against that protocol would be useless, but now that you have code execution as a user, you can potentially add private keys or change passwords. Check to see what user account you're running as. We're running as Solr, I already did that. If you would like to stabilize your shell, you can follow these steps for stabilizing. Check super user permissions, see what we can run as super user, and we can run everything as super user without a password. So if we'd like to grant ourselves persistence and access to the machine, momentarily become root. Okay. And we are root. And change the password for Solr to one of your choosing. This way we can SSH in as needed. So password Solr, and let's just name it. We'll name it password 123, very secure. Perfect. Another window, SSH in the main machine with your new creds. Let's give that a shot. Oh, we need to specify our account. SSH is solder at log4j.thm. Password 123. Look at that. We got SSH access. Done. Detection. Unfortunately, finding applications vulnerable to Log4 shell is hard. Detecting exploitation might be even harder considering the unlimited amount of potential bypasses. With that said, the information security community has seen an incredible outpouring of effort and support to develop tooling, scripting, and code to better constrain this threat. While this room won't showcase every technique in detail, you can again find an enormous amount of resources online. Here are some of those resources. As a reminder, a massive resource is available here. To explore our own logs, use your SSH connection reverse shell to move into the directory where the solder logs are stored. Is it in core admin? Oh, there it is. And we answered that question in task 3, it looks like. There we go. Done. Review the log file that you know is affected by the Log4j vulnerability, which I think is at solar.log, right? Can we just cat it? Or is that going to be too big? No, we can cat it. So if we look at this, it's a little messy since I'm using cat, but we should be able to see our exploit, I would think. Maybe it's here. I'm just not seeing it because of this crappy view with catting it. Note your JND attack is included in the log entries. You guys see it? Maybe I'm blind. I'm sure it's there. Let's make this full screen. And what we could do is just grab it. We don't need this open anymore. Here we go. Much cleaner look. So let's see if we can find our exploit. We should see it. I would assume it would be in these logs right here, right? Oh, there it is. So you can see we have this path admin cores, and params is what we edited. And in params, you can see our exact syntax that we used. We have this 1389 exploit. 9999, there's our netcat listener. So we caught ourselves in the logs. If we were parsing logs, that's how we'd be able to find it. Interesting. Let's go ahead and pull this back up. Okay. If you'd like to experiment more, try some of the bypasses mentioned in the task below. I don't think we'll go through the bypasses, but we'll at least look at them. The JNDI payload that we have showcased is the standard and typical syntax for performing this attack. Cool, cool. If you are a penetration tester or red teamer, this syntax might be caught. You know, let's pause here. I think before we look at bypasses is a good time for a 5-minute break. Give my voice some rest. So hey, if you're watching, let's take 5 minutes. Let's stand up. Let's walk around. Let's take a quick break and we'll be back in exactly 5 minutes. Hey, what is up, everyone? Welcome back. Hope you enjoyed your 5-minute break. Let's dive right back into things. All right. Bypass is the JNDI payload that we have showcased as a standard and typical syntax for performing this attack. 1 second, I'm gonna get Twitch pulled up on the side here. Perfect. If you are a penetration tester or a red teamer or a YouTuber, this syntax might be caught by web application firewalls or easily detected. If you are a blue teamer or incident responder, you should be actively hunting for and detecting that syntax. Because this attack leverages Log4j, the payload can ultimately access all the same expansion, substitution, and templating tricks that the package makes available. This means that a threat actor could use any sort of tricks to hide, mask, or obfuscate the payload. With that in mind, there are honestly an unlimited number of bypasses to sneak in this syntax. While we will not be diving into the details in this exercise, you are encouraged to play with them in this environment. Twin Branch, I'm new to cybersecurity, watching to catch up with the lingo. Sweet, Twin Branch. Welcome to Twitch. I forgot to say this in the beginning, but I do not claim to be a professional in any, well, I guess I do some of this stuff for a living, but like, I am not an expert at this stuff, so I am learning right alongside of you. So I just want to say welcome. And on our page, we stream almost every night, either me or my friend Nate. And what we often work through is rooms or boxes on TryHackMe.com, which is really an incredible platform to teach cybersecurity, and from very basic level, like how the internet works, up to doing actual exploits in different rooms. So if you've never been on TryHackMe.com, check it out. They have a lot of free rooms. What I'm doing here is a free room, but I do also have a subscription. I think it is well worth the money. So TryHackMe.com is a good place to learn. But once again, we stream almost every night around this time. So feel free anytime, come and hang out with us and follow along if you would like. All right, so here are some of the ways we can bypass this. I'm gonna make this bigger. Top 8%, sweet, Twin Branch, that's awesome, man. And I'm glad you're in the Work Smarter Discord. If you are gonna be on tomorrow night for our weekly meeting, we have it on Mondays at 7:30 p.m. Central Time. I believe I'm leading that. So if you're on that meeting, I'll talk to you then as well. So if you look at these bypasses, you can see that they're just kind of chopping things up here and just making it a little bit different, right? Lower P, lower D, just different syntax. It's essentially the same command coming through, but it's ways that you can bypass that web application firewall or the logs that people are looking for. And it says, note the use of RMI here instead of Ldap. And the last one, this is also another valid technique that can be used with the MarshalSec utility. Feel free to experiment. Additionally, within the Log4j engine, you can expand arbitrary environment variables if this wasn't already bad enough. Consider the damage that could be done even with remote code execution, but a simple Ldap connection exfiltration of like something like an AWS secret access key. For other techniques, you are strongly encouraged to do your own research. There is a significant amount of information being shared in this Reddit thread. There you go. Gentle reminder, use this knowledge for good. You know what they say, with great power, great responsibility, and all that good stuff. Done. Mitigation. Okay, now that you have acted as the adversary for a little bit, please take off your hacker hat. Let's take it off and put on our blue team hat. Review the mitigation text suggested on the Apache Solar website. Okay. Here's this one. So here's this mitigation. Update to Solar 8.11.1 or greater, which will include an updated version. If you're using the Docker image, it's already been mitigated. Manually update the version of Log4j. Edit your solar.in.sh file to include this specific string in Windows. A very similar thing. Okay, cool. We reviewed it. If you want to directly SSH in the machine, the credentials are Vagrant and Vagrant. We already have an SSH connection because we updated the password, so we should be able to use that. Determine where the Solar NSH file exists. Okay, whoops, not link. I didn't mean to do that. Let's go back down. I just wanted to copy it because what we can do is something like locate. So we have it in a few spots there. I think Etsy is where we're gonna want to edit. We'll see if it tells us. Okay, exactly what I did. You may see two results. We want the one that corresponds to system-wide configuration. I'm pretty sure that's going to be the Etsy one. Perfect. The Apache Soldier website security page explains that you can add the syntax. And remember, we actually saw this. That was one of the things we saw. So let's go ahead and just modify that and add that syntax to it. I'd assume we can honestly edit anywhere, right? Like, as long as it's not commented out. Let's just do it right here. Whoops. Did I do that right? Can I just go like that? Oh, I need to do this as a sudo. Can I do that? And like I said, I think you can do it anywhere. Okay. I believe it would have worked. Oh, it says scroll to the bottom. Oh, well, let's see if it works when we add it to the top. Now the configuration file has been modified, the service still needs to be restarted for the changes to take effect. This process may vary between installations, but for this server, you can restart the server with this syntax. Okay. And let's just go ahead and do this again while we wait. Waiting up to 180 seconds to see Solar running on port 8983. The Apache website explains that you can add, oh, already did that, we already did that, we already did that. Okay, we restarted it to validate that the patch is taking place. Start another netcat listener as you had before, and spin up your temporary Ldap referral server. Okay. Okay. Let's just do all this again. So, Python 3. 8000. Remember? Ldap, is that our Ldap server is still running? Our Ldap server is still live. Our netcat listener. Okay, let's just verify. We got web server running 8000. Our Ldap connection is still running here. And we got our netcat listener 9999. This is actually our SSH section. Let's open a new one. And let's just try to do that. Let's see if we were able to patch it, or maybe I did something wrong and the exploit's gonna work, and we'll figure out, I spelled terminal wrong. Oh well, we'll figure out why it works. So we did that, Re-exploit the server with the curl command we did in task 5. Blah, blah, blah. There it is. So let's just go ahead and we'll retype it out again. And 999. No, we don't want to do that. This is our old one. We want to do 1389, right? Is there anything else I missed? Log4j 8983 solar admin cores question mark foo. Oh, yep, I see something I missed. Foo $$ \JNDI Ldap our attacker IP address exploit like that, like that, like that. Okay. It didn't work. Good. We didn't want it to work. It didn't, I mean, it didn't even do anything. Didn't connect to Ldap, nothing. And just to verify we did it right, I'm gonna copy and paste this command right here. So I wanna make sure I didn't script the syntax at all. And just make sure we really did patch it. Nothing. Run the above command and catch a reverse. Oh, wait. Re-exploit the server. We tried to. You should see that no request is made to your temporary Ldap server, correct? No request is made to HTTP, and no reverse shell is sent back. Perfect. It has been fixed. Patching. At the time of creating this exercise, Apache Solar has not been released with a formal patch for the CVE. Alongside many other software providers, the industry is frantically scrambling to patch their software and push it downstream to end users as quickly as they can. Please be understanding of this frenzy. There are so many potential places that this Log4j vulnerability could be present. We may never see the end of this vulnerability for a long, long time. The onus is on you, on me, on each and every one of us to raise awareness of this incident and hold the community accountable for actively responding. When the time comes, roll out the patches that have been made available and continue to hunt for instances of this vulnerability. It takes a village. Where appropriate, please ensure you patch the logging Log4j package to version 2.16.0 or higher as new releases come available. In version 2.16.0, JNDI is fully disabled, support for message lookups is removed, and the new DOS vulnerability is not present. Download this release here. If you're responsible for identifying vulnerable services that use Log4j, there's a list of a few majorly affected services and products here. I understand the implications of this and will patch early, often, and always. That's the primary part of my day job is patching, so yes. Thanks for clicking all the way through to the end. I sincerely hope you read these parting words. Okay, well, let's read them because I sincerely hope we do. This exercise is brought to you with the wholehearted intent that it improves your awareness, learning, and understanding of this vulnerability for the right reasons. The material presented to you cannot have been possible without the incredible contributions from security researchers, incident responders, system admins, and security practitioners all throughout the industry. We owe an incredible thank you to the professionals all working sleepless nights around the clock, foregoing the weekend and time with friends and family to better protect the entire internet. While Hollywood hacking is cool and flashy, cybersecurity is a team sport. Please review the external resources and make this community a better place. Now go and do great things. And it was John Hammond. Awesome. Awesome, awesome. I think we might stop here because I don't want to start a whole nother vulnerability, but let's kind of glance at them real quick. See what we have. Recent threats. I missed it. Okay, I'm blind. There they are. Spring Force Shell. Dirty. Oh, did I skip Dirty Pipe? I think I did. So, Dirty Pipe is... let's go ahead and just reset the progress so you guys don't see the answers. I'm just going to glance through this real quick. See if I remember doing it. Vulnerability background. Oh yeah, okay. Okay, cool. Well, let's do this. It is just about 11:30, and I usually sign off by midnight or sooner. This is going to take a good hour at least to make our way through the Dirty Pipe vulnerability. And so I think what we'll do right now is we will call it a night. But hey, I will be back on Tuesday. So my streaming schedule is I stream on Sunday nights, Tuesday nights, Wednesday nights, and Thursday nights. And Nate is usually here the nights that I'm not. So Nate is usually here on Mondays, Fridays, and Saturdays. But he is actually out of town for a funeral. I'm not sure when he gets back. And I know he did try to stream, but he told me his internet's terrible. So I'm not sure if Nate will be on tomorrow night. But I will hopefully for sure be back Tuesday. And when I come back on Tuesday, we'll dig right into that Dirty Pipe vulnerability. Otherwise, I'm also eagerly looking forward to the release of the next network. show you guys these networks if you haven't already done them. I already did a 2-part series on this breaching AD network and a 2-part series on enumerating AD, and the creator of these networks, he actually reached out to me on Discord and he joined the Work Smarter Discord, and I know he's actively working on the next one and he's hoping it comes out this week. So if he does release the next AD network, we will pause our series through recent threats and dive back into the AD network that he releases and work our way through it. So either way, I'll have more content coming at you guys on Tuesday evening. So on Tuesday night, come back here to Twitch. Otherwise, come back Monday night if Nate's going to be live, and let's continue to learn and stumble through the cybersecurity world together. So once again, thank you for joining on the Hack Smarter Twitch. Thank you for joining me on YouTube after the fact. Follow us on Twitch, subscribe to me on YouTube, and we'll see where this goes. Thanks for joining. You guys have a good night.